Yeah, we're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you've just crossed over into the trend zone. Casey here with Dave. We are the football dudes. Dave, are you ready, bro?
Oh, yeah. You got that right, my friend. Let's get this going.
Yeah, baby. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the trend zone. It is Wednesday, September 11th. We're coming to you from Los Angeles, California. It's a beautiful 68 degrees, Dave. 23 years ago, man, tragedy struck on our hallowed lands. Never forget, always in our hearts, baby.
God bless.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about the madness, the crazy ratings that NFL football is. We're going to hit you with a little survivor. And according to the numbers, about half of the nation did not survive. Our fantasy go back starts of the week and some of the most awesome games from the upcoming week. Not some of them, all of them. But Dave, before we get to all that, tell me you got nugs for the peoples.
Certainly, Casey. Absolutely. After a huge opening weekend in the NFL averaged 21 million viewers per game during the opening week there, making it the most watched week one on record for the NFL. Nielsen said it was a 12% increase over last year. And Casey, the most watched game, of course, no surprise, it is, of course, the Chiefs hosting the Ravens. And it was a great football game on Thursday night where over 29 people tuned in for that one.
29?
Yeah,
That's a
29
lot.
plus. Not
Oh,
to mention on that Sunday night game, which also was a really fun game to watch. It was, of course, the Lions and the Rams going at it there. That one, overtime victory there. That was 22.7 million viewers on that one. So pretty impressive turnout. NFL, of course, rules the TV screens, doesn't
it's
it?
true. And it turns out about almost 24 million people tuned in to see a rookie making his NFL debut, Dave.
Who's that?
Tom Brady. Is there anything this
Tommy.
jerk can't do? He was great. I mean, we had so many games going on that we didn't get to listen, but I went back and, gave the audio some. He's super polished. You knew that he would be. He's just
Yeah.
a sick freak. Um, but there's a reason they're paying him all that money and that he's elevated to the number one crew on Fox already.
That is a lot of mucho bucos there for Tom Brady. But yeah, we were so spazzing over week one. It was hard to hear what Tommy Boy was saying there. But Casey, interestingly enough, the Friday night game, which was so rad just to even have
Mhm.
there in Sao Paulo, Brazil, it got good numbers in terms of Peacock numbers. But of course, streaming, it averaged 14 million. And of course, obviously, that's about half what the big games were. So the NFL sort of taking a little loss there in terms of people checking into the
Big
to the
time.
game, but hoping to push up some of those other platforms.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we move away from some of these, exclusive games on Peacock. The hell with all that. They're
Brutal.
already gouging everybody already. Just
Yeah.
make it available in the package or over the air. Like you said, dude, they would have probably doubled those stupid numbers.
Yeah, no question. I mean, in the future, maybe give away a free week of Peacock so that you can entice people in, not just for that one thing, but to try and get their dollars on a regular basis.
Yeah, since McGruber is done, I don't think I've turned Peacock on besides that game on Friday. Want to remind all the peoples out there the Trend Zone, the podcast that you are listening to right now, is available for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever the hell you get your podcast, Dave. All right, let's go ahead and kick this thing off, Dave. We had the new kickoff rule, and overall, I think pretty good. Pretty good.
Not bad, and it wasn't. It's obviously visually way different, but it really didn't like amazingly transform things. But there was a little difference, and we did have 57 kickoff returns. That was a 33% return rate. Those are both 5-year highs, so the highest in the last 5 years. So we definitely had a trend going the other direction. We've reversed that trend
Yeah.
here, at least 1 week into it. Um, a lot of the kicks were kicked into or through the end zone. I think it was 73% of them. So people were willing to, in a lot of cases, just give the other team the ball at the 30 and not screw around with it. Some of the kickoffs did fail to make it in to the landing zone or out of bounds, and that was, of course, a stiff penalty there in terms of the field positioning. But the interesting part here that I think is in terms of, yes, it's different, and yet it's not all that different. The average starting point for all drives was the 29.4 yard line, and for the average starting point, as not that much different than just kicking it into
about
the end zone.
5 yards or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, people just say, screw it, we'll just kick it into the end zone. But if you force the team to return it and your kicker does have some accuracy, you can drop it into that landing zone and you can pin the team back, then there's an advantage there. It's whether as the kicking team you're willing to take that advantage. And I do think we saw some pretty big returns.
Yeah, the Cardinals had a touchdown against the Bills, which was pretty sweet. Yeah. I just couldn't tell where the zone was. CBS did such a poor job of their graphic package.
It was
sarcasm. That was so awful, dude.
It was ridiculous that they had to highlight what is inside the 20. Like we can't see big 20s on the field. I don't understand it. It actually made it harder, I think, to see where the ball was going in there.
Hated it, dude.
It was stupid.
But I can't remember who the kicker was, but someone lobbed it just over the front line there and kind of rolled it into the landing zone. I think that might be what we see. Take a couple weird bounces and let the guys really get down there.
That's the strategy that I think is going for the more talented kickers that are willing to risk it. You drop that thing inside the 20, maybe the 18, 17-yard line, and hopefully it takes a couple of squirrely bounces because once it hits the ground, everybody can go. And then you can get a jump on it. And if he doesn't field it cleanly, then you can really get an advantage there and hopefully pin the team deep down inside there, and as opposed to just giving them to him at the 30.
Yeah, it's going to be a work in progress here. It's going to look much different later in this season now, but overall it gives us more action, so that's a good thing.
No question.
Speaking of maybe wanting a little less action before the game, dude, disturbing video coming out of Miami of Tyreek, dude, getting manhandled by the cops down there in Dade County.
Yeah, such a good guy too. I say that sarcastically, of course, but I agree with you, Casey. It did seem like he was a little standoffish to the cops, but the way they reacted to it seemed certainly to be over the top. Although they did say they estimated him doing 60 miles an hour in a crowded area. So, I guess there are two wrongs don't make a right here.
And dude, John O. Smith and Calais Campbell both getting cuffed too. Calais Campbell, Walter Payton, man of the year, trying to de-escalate. That one cop didn't want any part of the de-escalation. I know they have a rough job, but come on, dude.
Yeah, well, some big dudes coming at you for de-escalation could get you pretty antsy if you're a cop, but that's your job, so keep it cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And if the beat down 33-17 or in Cleveland wasn't bad enough, more bad news out of Cleveland, dude.
Yeah, no doubt. New lawsuit alleging Deshaun Watson again with some
gross stuff. We don't need to get into all that crap.
Without all the details, we can say that no doubt it is not a good situation at all. Deshaun Watson on the field of play was also not a good situation at all, completing less than 50% of his passes, and had two picks in the destruction against your Cowboys, Casey. Such a disaster out there that the fans were booing the home fans there. 5 years, $230 million, fully guaranteed. We said it at the time. It's the stupidest contract in NFL history. They redid his contract this offseason so that he's only making $30 million this year. Next 2 seasons, he's guaranteed $73 million with some voidable years after that for $27 and then $9 million that they're expecting to void. So it could cost them, if they were to get rid of him by cutting him, $200 million in dead cap space over the next several seasons. They'd be able to push that out, but it would be an absolutely brutal scenario. And at this point, I know if you gave those dudes in the front office in Cleveland some true serum, they'd say, we wish the hell that this deal never came to be. We screwed up.
Yeah, they want Pepto-Bismol now because there's definitely some nausea, heartburn, indigestion, maybe a little upset stomach and diarrhea going on in Cleveland right now. Too bad they didn't have a good quarterback there. Oh, we'll get into that in just a little bit. Dave, we gonna be all right, baby. I know
What?
that doesn't mean anything to you,
Nothing.
but the NFL announced who is performing at Super Bowl halftime.
That's right. Kendrick Lamar will be the guest, Casey, at the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. But that will be February 9th, Casey. And of course, I would go on a tangent right now and list all of my favorite Kendrick Lamar songs, but we just don't have time in this podcast to get there. We've got other football related news to get to. So suffice to say, it's a tie. My favorite Lamar songs are all of them.
Good answer. Good answer, Dave. Okay, let's get past all that, and it is time for some total fantasy domination. Dave, give me a quarterback.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield, the guy they ran out of Cleveland, Casey.
What did he do?
Tearing it up, tearing the league up with Tampa Bay. 289 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and 21 yards rushing on top of that. Nice going, Baker.
Oh, yeah, and that running back, Saquon Barkley from the Cookie Monsters. I hate my team. All he did in his Eagle debut, 109 rush yards, 2 rushing TDs, 23 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown.
Beautiful. How about receiver Jaden Reed and the Snivellers? Bob scores on this one for Green Bay. 33 rush yards, 1 rush TD, 138 receiving yards, and a receiving TD. Wow.
And everybody with that Ravens tight end was pretty stoked this weekend. It was Isaiah Likely, 111 receiving yards and a touchdown, almost 2 touchdowns. Man, how stoked are you if you have the Ravens tight end as your fantasy starter?
Casey, I think you're mocking me because my Ravens tight end got me a 1.4. Not very pleased with my Raven tight end scenario. I picked the wrong Raven tight end, apparently.
Don't feel bad. I mean, my tight end did double that output at 3.4 points, Travis Kelce. So I'm in the same boat with you there, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right. How about our Survivor 3 strikes pool? We went in last week. We did not feel good about it. I didn't know if that was a premonition or just premonition.
Yeah, our gut was telling us to get the hell off this pick, but we both didn't do it, and we both went down with the 42+% of people that selected Cincinnati to beat the New England Patriots. Of course, thank goodness we're a 3 strikes league. In the other one with no gracious 3 strikes, my season is over.
Dude, and the answer was right there in front of all of us. Whoever's playing the Panthers. We were scared that a divisional matchup would go awry. It did not go awry. Unless you were a Panther fan. New Orleans handled that business. Dave, who are the most popular picks moving into this week?
Yeah, there's 2 that really stand above the rest of them. Baltimore at Las Vegas, and they're getting 30.5% of the selections. And then the who's playing the Panthers in this week, it's the Chargers. They're heading to Carolina, and that is 27+% of the people out there. So right there, that's 57.5% of the people between those 2 picks. So scary stuff there, but I'm thinking I'm going to be in on one of those 2 picks.
Show me your lightning bolt. React.
You got that right.
Book it, baby. Book it. All right. Let's get on to the meat and potatoes, the big stuff, the good stuff, what everybody's craving. It is week 2 in the NFL.
Woo. All right, Casey. Thursday night, we'll get it started. It is the Bills at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 2-point favorites at home in a divisional matchup that could, I know it's early, but have playoff implications.
Oh, it definitely will. And it looked like the Bills were cooked. Kyler Murray came out there doing him hard. And then Josh Allen started doing Josh Allen things, man. He was absolutely incredible in this game. Really took over. And the Bills came back in dramatic fashion. There was no Dalton Kincaid in this thing, though. I think I got a 1.2 in my PPR fantasy league. But Josh Allen, man, an incredible performance, saved that game, and the Dolphins need a little late game heroics as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that Dolphins, I think they kind of eked out one pretty fortunate because it looked like ATN was going to go into the end zone there and put that game out of reach against the Jaguars. Um, but he fumbled it instead. And then shortly after that, Tua hit Tyreek Hill on the run, and he was gone for a huge touchdown. Later on, they were in position to take that game over. Um, and
Did the little getting cuffed Selly there too with
Yes, he
Waddle at the
did.
end. That was pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
big game for Waddle too, with a 63-yard reception that set up the go-ahead field goal there. Unfortunately, Devon Achane is banged up. I think a couple of other guys got banged up. These
Yeah,
guys seem to
Mostert's
get
out too for
so
Thursday.
pretty low on the running back depth chart already. But this Dolphins team, pretty explosive. But yeah, this can be a great football game.
All right. Speaking of great football game, we got another battle of the undefeateds, Dave. It is the New Orleans Saints and my Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites at home. Whoa, pump the brakes, Super Bowl talk.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And this Saints team obviously was the team that came out absolutely hitting on all cylinders last week against the Carolina Panthers. And Derek Carr there, 3 touchdowns. He had a 142.5 quarterback rating. So pretty fantastic football game there. They spread it around nicely. Shaheed is pretty good on the receiving end for a touchdown there and 73 yards. All said and done, wow, they just plowed through the Panthers. So I don't even know where we are with the Saints. We'll have to see now that they're facing a Cowboy team that also had their way in week 1.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Alvin Kamara, but I love what I saw out of that Mike Zimmer defense for the Cowboys. Micah with like 11 QB pressures. Tank, I think, had 10 too. And if you didn't get a chance to watch this game, overshown for the Cowboys. He tore his ACL last year. He's fully back at linebacker, so athletic. Had that play where he shot across the field and blew up Deshaun Watson, couple interceptions, few sacks. Eric Kendricks coming over because he wanted to be part of this team. Also, a great impact on this game. And oh yeah, Dak made a couple bucks before the game. Found out
Oh
that he would be the
yeah,
highest paid player in NFL history. Cowboys worked that extension. We knew it was coming. And when we saw the Raiders and the Giants play, you realize, well, Jared gave Dak 60 mil because those guys would have given him 70 mil.
yeah,
Dak did just enough. Hit Cooks on the sweet pass there. Zeke got a touchdown going too. CD looks like he's ramping up. He was on a pitch count. And Jake Ferguson, I was really worried about it when I saw the hit. Turns out it's just an MCL sprain. Not
good.
sure how much he's going to miss, but at least it's not going to be the full year. So far, the Cowboys, great out the gates. And Dave, I thought I was dead fantasy wise when Mahomes and Kelsey got me 17 points combined. Luckily, I drafted Brandon Aubrey, who hit me a 19, baby. Oh, yeah. And he was going to nail that 66-yarder. The
Yep.
refs donked the clock on that, and they denied us. And Big Mike was almost going to let him hit the 71, but decided against it. And that's okay, because if they would have returned that short kick or something bad could have happened. So, but Brandon Aubrey, wow, what a find. What a find.
In retrospect, considering you destroyed them, would have been nice to see him hit that 71
Maybe
yard.
later in this season we'll get one of those.
For sure. All right, up next, it's the Browns at the Jaguars. Jaguars at home are favored by 3. Jags, obviously, and the Etienne gave last week's game away, as I mentioned earlier. And the Browns, of course, we also mentioned, were utterly destroyed in last week's game. Casey.
Yeah, Deshaun got the crap kicked out of him. And I didn't see much from him that looks like it's going anywhere positive. So we'll see if they end up making the switch to Jameis sooner than later.
Woo!
And those Jags, like you mentioned, dude, Etienne gave that thing away. They were going in to put that game away, a fumble. But they still had opportunities in that game and did nothing in the second half. So moving forward, hopefully they can start stacking some wins. Lots of expectation for them Jags.
Yeah, no doubt. And they really should have beaten a good Miami football team, but just mistakes cost them there. The Etienne fumble and,
sloppy play late.
Sloppy play, that'll get you every time, right?
Yep. All right, Dave. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Green Bay Packers, and the Colts are 3-point favorites on the road. Why would that be?
Wow, I'll tell you what, they were pretty damn exciting, uh, with the quarterback there. Um,
Anthony Richardson.
Thank you, Anthony Richardson. Do you see that throw where he just sort of falls backwards and just launches it? An absolutely beautiful throw. 2 touchdowns for him, a 101.2 quarterback rating. And we're thinking of him more as, the runner that needs to develop as a passer. But he did also rush for 56 yards on 6 carries. So a pretty solid day, both with his legs and his arm. Alec Pierce looked really good for him on the
Mm-hmm.
receiving end of a handful of those catches, one of them for a touchdown, a total of 125 yards for Alec Pierce. So really nice football game. They didn't get Jonathan Taylor going, so they ended up falling a little bit short, but very promising. So you could see why they're right in the mix here with the Packers, considering the Packers' circumstances.
Yeah, Malik Willis been on the team not very long. He's going to be the starter moving forward. Jordan Love's down, they think 4 to 6 weeks. So, can they do enough with Willis back there, who's not been on the team for very long, to keep them in the mix? It's going to be tough against these Colts.
All right, up next, Casey, it is the 49ers on the road to Minnesota. This is a good football game. The Niners are favored by 6 on the road, though.
Yeah, no Christian McCaffrey, no problem, dude. Jordan
Whew.
Mason, oh my God, this guy is a stud. It seems like you can just plug any back into this Kyle
Yes.
Shanahan offense and get it going. And how about the start of this game, dude? I hate that I feel this way about a San Francisco 49er, but Fred Warner is one of my favorite players in the league early on, punching that ball out of Brees Hall and
Wow.
picking that, and then they could never recover, man. But it's not about the regular season for these 49ers now. It's getting to the playoffs, getting to the Super Bowl, and winning one of those damn things. They've been there a lot, but they haven't done it yet. Got to capitalize before Brock Purdy starts making that Dak Prescott money.
No doubt about it. And let's swing over to this Vikings team. Obviously, they had a tough offseason with some of the players' health and such. And certainly, I specifically mean J.J. Watt not getting out there. But they did the smart thing and got a pretty interesting backup in Sam Darnold, a guy that could still be an ascending player. And the way he played in week 1 shows that the coaching that Kevin O'Connell is providing for him and the opportunity last year to learn in the 49ers system and be surrounded by those quality coaches there.
Let's not forget about this cat, dude. He was the number 1 pick coming out. Baker kind of won over the Browns brass. Yeah. But like Sam Darnold was prolific at SC. He needed an opportunity. Who hasn't failed with the Jets?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He got a pretty tough draw there being on the Jets team that just didn't have personnel around him. This team does have personnel around him, and they got Aaron Jones in the backfield now too. So last year they couldn't really run the ball, but this is Sam's team for this season, if nothing else. And it's his opportunity, a real legitimate one, to show the NFL that he's a viable starting quarterback in this league. He's not just a journeyman or a veteran backup. So spread the ball around, had, maybe 8 receivers grab a couple of catches each. So really impressive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dudes, man. I mean, that's moving the ball around. That's reading the field and getting some stuff done. Aaron Jones comes up just a little shy of 100 yards, but scores a touchdown. Pretty nice performance for these Vikings. So this is going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, and wait till they get Hawkinson back in this offense. Pretty good stuff.
Good point.
All right, Dave. Up next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Baltimore Ravens, and those Ravens are 9-point favorites at home in the nest.
Yeah, and how about these Raiders? Had a pretty good performance last week. I thought their defense was pretty awesome in the first half against the Chargers there. Really not letting the Chargers get anything going for that first half. But Minshew made a couple of crucial errors. They had, I think, all said and done, the Raiders had 3 turnovers in that football. One was a backwards pass by Minshew. One was a ball that I believe Zamir White fumbled with a good defensive play. And then there was a pick that sealed the game at the end. But this Raider team, they do have a pretty strong defense coming out. Obviously, Zamir White didn't really get the game going for them that they'd hoped for. Between Devontae and Brock Bowers, they had some pretty good receiving going on there. Brock Bowers with a pretty nice debut. Jacoby Myers with a decent game. They just couldn't put enough points on the board. And when it came down to it, they weren't aggressive enough to go for it late in that game. I'm sure they regret it. They punted it away, and the Chargers sealed the deal. But now they're going to Baltimore and
An
hopefully
angry Ravens team, dude. That was a toe away from getting a chance to beat the Chiefs on Thursday night at home. Likely just barely missed it. Dave, my question to you is, though, bro, if J.K. Dobbins ran for 135 against the Raiders, what the hell is Derrick Henry going to do?
Woo, bow down to the king, baby. I think he's going to tear him up. That Raider front is good.
Yeah.
They just gave up 2 huge runs to JK, and the rest of the time they bottled them up. So we'll see. Same scenario maybe exactly this week. They play it real close to the line of scrimmage. So if you pop a hole, man, there's practically you beat most of the defense in 2 steps.
Yeah, I think that defense is going to give Minshew fits.
All right, up next, it is the Seahawks on the road to play the Patriots. Seahawks on the road are favored by 3.5 in this one.
Little Super Bowl matchup rematch.
Yeah, forgot about
Remember that game?
Yeah, in the Wayback Machine. Yeah.
Oh, I still think about Beast Mode.
Late interception
that over.
in the end zone. Woo.
Beast Mode, Super Bowl champ. How good would that have been?
Oh, how about I just remember the shot of Sherm on the sideline going, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm your new coach, and I coach defense. Mike McDonald, dude, that was a very physical game against the Broncos, man. Pads were popping in there. Geno was pretty good. I know Kenneth Walker left this thing with injury. I haven't seen anything this week as if he's going to miss this one or not. But Charbonnet, baby, our SoCal kid, he was fine backing up there. But I have Kenneth Walker on my fantasy team, so I need to monitor that moving forward. But great win for the Seahawks. This is a pretty far roadie. Can't get much farther than this going up against a 1-0 Patriots team that nobody thought was going to be 1-0 outside of that, outside of the Razor, whatever the hell they call the facilities there now.
Yeah, you know what? And Jacoby Brissett, did not by any stretch of the imagination have like any kind of stellar performance. 121 yards passing and a 75 quarterback rating. What they did have was a really nice performance by Ramondre Stevenson, 120 yards in the TD for him. Overall, this is kind of what we expected. Unfortunately, I expected the last week the Bengals to pull it out, but they kind of fumbled away the game. But this New England defense is really solid. They make every game ugly, and then they're just hanging around, and then Ramondre Stevenson busts off a big one, and next thing you know, this Patriots team is undefeated and hosting the Seahawks this week.
Crazy talk, baby. Ooh, and how about this one? This is a little tasty game, a little rematch of some NFC divisional playoffs. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Rock City Lions. Lions 7.5-point favorites. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And this Buccaneers team, man, I'll tell you, they were on fire last week, dude. I mean, no doubt about it. The way that,
Baker Mayfield, dude, talk about
4
Baker.
touchdowns, man.
4.
I mean, he was shredding last week. So, yeah, you got to wonder what the odds makers were thinking in this circumstance. But Baker with a 146.4 passer rating last week was totally on fire, man. Godwin, Rashid White, Mike Evans got 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was spreading it around. I'm telling you, this team has got weapons, and this is going to be a good football game, man.
Dude, I think not only for this season, obviously it's just a weekend, but one of my all-time favorite drives in football was that overtime drive by the Lions against the Rams. It was just like You know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. We're running it, and you can't do a damn thing about it. And David Montgomery just put that thing down their freaking throats, dude. It just overpowered them. It spoke to what Dan Campbell wants these Lions to be, and I love
Yeah.
the effort. I love what's going on in Detroit. I hate that because I got love for my guy Baker, but I was so impressed with that drive. I was just sitting there watching the game late, just losing my mind because that just it was the purest essence of football that you can have. We're just going to run it. You know it. Stop it. You can't stop it. Touchdown. Lions with the win, man. Oh,
Yeah.
so rad, dude. So
Yep.
rad.
They just played some physical football late there, and they wore out that Rams
They
squad.
did.
So it's pretty impressive. All right. Up next, the New York Football Giants are going to play the Washington Commanders. Casey, Commanders at home, favored by 2. I'll tell you,
This game,
great action last week.
yeah, this game has a chance to be a little less ugly than last week's Giants performance just because they're not going to wear those stupid helmets in the jersey.
Woo!
That was one of the worst uniforms I've seen
Yeah.
ever, man. And the Giants have lots of questions, dude. I'm sure that Malik Neighbors wishes he was on the Commandos with Jaden Daniels instead of on the Giants with Danny Dimebag. I don't know what's going on there, but it looks like they're going to be in the market for a quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft. It's not all on Dimebag, but that was just disgusting football.
Yeah, and on the other side of the equation, there you've got the Washington Commanders, who obviously, came up short against the Buccaneers last week, but they're favored heading this week because of the excitement that Jaden Daniels brings them. Had 184 yards passing, a decent 17 out of 24, nothing prolific there, but 16 rushes for 88 yards. So obviously he's running more than they want him to run because he's certainly not a physically overly imposing guy. You just don't want him to take those hits. But when you're a young quarterback and things are confusing out there and you can move the chains, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And he was very exciting. He led the team in rushing by far.
And that's going to be a huge part of his game. He's just got to be smart about the contact,
No question. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get away with running and not taking the brutal hits? Okay. And then they've got a nice tandem with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler there. I think this could develop into something that's pretty exciting to watch.
All right, Dave. You're ready for it, baby. It's our undefeated Los Angeles Chargers on the road at the Carolina Panthers. Our Chargers are 6-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, and this Chargers offense, I mentioned previously when discussing the Raiders, was terrible against that Raider defense for the first half of that football game. Running into a wall and getting hardly any yards. They ended up staying with the run, though, in the second half and finding that they were able to physically wear down that Raider defense and popped a couple of huge runs with J.K. Dobbins. He ended up with 135 yards and on 10 rushes, a 13.5 yard average, which is, of course, gaudy and ridiculous. But his career average going into this season, which was, marred by injury, no question, but it was a 5.8 yard average, which is pretty damn exceptional. He was exciting, and it was.
He's just got to stay healthy. This guy could be one of the most dynamic running backs in the NFL. He just has some injury trouble. You saw no signs of him being slow on Sunday, just the opposite. I mean, on some of those breakaway runs, he was just leaving the defenders. Yeah. That's exciting.
And Ladd McConkey, the second-round pick, scores a touchdown. Joe Alt, the first-round pick for the Chargers, kind of pitched a shutout against Max Crosby, an incredibly good pass rusher. Apparently, there were no, quote, like quarterback hurries or whatever from Crosby. He negated him. So pretty awesome start for those two guys. Defensively, the Chargers team looked all over the place, swarming, finally good on 3rd and short and 4th and short against the Raiders. I don't know if this is going to pan out, but the way the defense looked, it's a lot more exciting than we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, they're molding this team into what Harbaugh wants him to be. It might take a little longer to get his personnel in there, but you could see the style of football they want to play week one. That's pretty exciting as a Charger fan to already see that. And these Panthers, man, they got problems. I think it's going to be a while before they get better. It's different if you have a maverick owner, if they know what the hell they're doing. If you just got some hothead with a bunch of money, that usually doesn't amount to much.
Yeah, I have not been impressed with ownership there. Alrighty, moving it along. It is the New York Jets at the Tennessee Titans. Jets are on the road and favored by 4 after that entertaining game on Monday night against the 49ers. So how about this one, Casey?
Former Titans at the current Titans.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
it's
point.
gonna be a little tricky. Jets going to the West Coast and flying back, and then having to go down to Tennessee there. I mentioned that Fred Warner fumble on Brees Hall kind of got that game, got them behind it, and it just made life difficult after that. We saw flashes, and let's not forget, dude, Aaron Rodgers has had some of this offseason, but needed the year to recover from the Achilles. This is still a work in progress. That O line, they think they got it fixed. I'm not sure yet. And this defense, all we've heard about was how great this defense was going to be. And they got run all over. So I'm not sure that the Titans can do the same thing. And I don't think that Will Levis can do the same thing that Brock Purdy's doing. But Jets don't want to be looking at 0-2. Got to
Yeah, the
win this
Jets
game.
defense wasn't particularly awesome against the run last year either, even though their reputation and it's deserved is that they are a very good defense. But yeah, this Titans team, Casey, they just gave one away last week, and I got to put it right on Will Levis. In fact, he was doing this after one of his boneheaded plays.
He was
But
doing one of this after one of them, too.
yeah, like, man, I mean, made some stupid throws that you should not make, even as it's just a second-year quarterback. 2 interceptions. He had a 52.5 quarterback rating. So just ultimately an awful performance. Tony Pollard was a bright note there, 5.1 yards average rushing the football. So he looked good on a big breakaway touchdown. But they just made way too many mistakes. Guy had a punt blocked. I mean, and those are the kind of things like, okay, it's week one. A lot of these things were fixable, and they need to fix them before this week's game, or they're going to lose another game and they'll be 0-2.
I mean, all you had to do is not give them touchdowns when you're on offense or special teams, and you win that game
Easy.
handily.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the Bears were terrible on offense, but
Yeah.
the Titans out terribled them and really gave that game away. Not that it's going to matter in the long run, anyways, but ugh.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. NFC West battle. Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals, and Coilers Cards are 1-point favorites at home.
Yeah, I'll go for these Rams here, Casey. Stafford had a really nice game, 300 plus yards passing, but he threw it 49 times. That's too many in the game against the Lions. It was an awesome football game. Obviously, when you go to overtime, anybody can win that football game. They didn't get a chance there in the overtime. Kieran Williams was pretty much held to a pretty low deal, 2.8 yards a carry and 50 yards total. Ronnie Rivers didn't help too much on his part either. Unfortunately, they lose Puka Nacua here. He goes to IR. They're banged up on the O-line. They have been all preseason, and that didn't change, and that didn't help them, obviously, get that ground game going like they couldn't. And it was seemingly suddenly Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford against the world here. Kupp had a nice game. But, yeah, they're going to need to try and get healthy and somehow find a way to get some W's along the way.
And it's really a shame that the Cardinals lost that game against the Bills. They played good enough to win it for about, 90% of that game and just kind of faltered there at the end. Kyler Murray is so exciting to watch play football. We really missed him last year with the injury. They didn't get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved as much as I thought. That will come in time there.
Surprising, yeah.
Yeah, but Mike Wilson, he's a nice addition there at the receiver position. So this is a divisional matchup. Who knows what's going to happen? But you mentioned, dude, those Rams are so banged up. I think it's going to be tough for them with the travel on the short week. But they've had the Cardinals' number last few years.
Up next, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Denver Broncos. Steelers on the road, favored by 2.5 in what may be the Rust Bowl if Russell can get healthy and come back and come back with a vengeance against those Broncos. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. That it's gonna be tricky, even if Russ is healthy enough to play. It seems like Fields did enough to maybe hold on to that job. We got to see what they do in practice. I mean, he had some bad throws, so maybe it is still Russ's job if he's ready to go, especially because I think Tomlin might give him a shot because this is the Rust Bowl, because the Broncos threw him out like that. But the Steelers, we've talked about it, they've made an effort to fix that offensive line and get that run game going again. That opens up everything else that they want to do. George Pickens, obviously a young stud, but it all starts on the other side of that defense, dude. TJ Watt, one of the best in the biz, man. They brutalized a pretty stationary Kirk Cousins. Hey, Bo Nix, meet TJ Watt, bro.
No doubt about it. And Bo Nix had a pretty good preseason, Casey. So he was feeling pretty good about himself heading into this game. But yeah, welcome to the NFL, Bo. 138 yards passing and 2 interceptions for a 47.5 quarterback rating. They could not run the football. The Broncos were basically inept at running the football. Audric Estime, I think they put him on IR this morning, the rookie out of Notre Dame. Yeah, tough break there. He spread the ball around to a lot of different receivers. I guess let's go to the other side because the defense got 2 safeties, and I don't know when I ever saw that in my life. So good for that defensive squad. They can definitely play some good defense on that side of the football. So we'll see. Bo Nix has got some growing to do. There's some talent there, for him to work with. But yeah, we'll see how the learning curve goes.
All right, up next, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are 6-point favorites at home, Dave. And just tell me that the Bengals aren't going to wear those nasty orange pants on the road. Ugh.
I mean, how much more orange could it be, Casey? The answer
Hopefully
is none.
Hopefully none.
Orange. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with those overly orange uniforms, but they weren't very good in them. So maybe that will entice them to not go back there.
Burn them.
They could have obviously won the game, but mistakes, especially down near the goal line there, prevented them from punching it in. Burrow with a really kind of ineffective game for Burrow, obviously. No touchdowns. Zach Moss was okay in spurts, I think, but they just really couldn't get anything going at all against the Patriots defense. Nothing consistent, that's for sure.
It didn't help Jamar Chase missing all that time coming in. No T. Higgins.
Yeah.
They also lost Tyler Boyd, who I think is on the Titans now. So no chemistry with Burrow and those receivers. And plus, I'm not sure if the wrist is back, dude.
I was thinking that's my other fear is that did he bang it up? Was it still hurt? I don't know, because it did seem that he was, concerned with it.
Yeah.
So,
and everybody was talking about Moss replacing Mixon. We saw what Mixon did. We'll get into that a little bit, but I think they're missing Mixon. And dude, how about these Chiefs, man? I mean, obviously the Ravens got it close late, but that was a team that was in the AFC Championship last year too. But the Chiefs do just enough all the time. They know what it takes. So you can never count them out. And dude, last year was kind of a crapshoot at receiver. Rashee Rice is on the ups, dude. He looks like he's going to be a major part of this. And Xavier Worthy, dude, oh my God, This guy is exciting and explosive. Kelsey didn't do hardly anything in this game, and the Chiefs still rolled. So, Andy Reid knows what he's doing with those guys, man. And I watched the Manning cast for the Monday night games because the game was so terrible. And Chris Jones, dude, that cat's smart. He knows what the hell is going on the football field. And he's obviously a big part of that defense, how they won the Super Bowl. So tough sledding for these Ravens, bro. I mean, for the Bengals, it's going to be ugh.
And I think last year they had a really hard schedule to start the season yet, but this one wasn't supposed to be as brutal last week. This one obviously going to Kansas City, nobody's favored in Kansas City. So
nope.
All right, moving along to the evening game on Sunday night, Casey. It is the Bears at the Texans, and the Texans at home favored by 6 in this one.
Yeah, Chicago finds a way to win a game when Caleb throws for like 90 yards. They had no business winning that game. But you know what? In the NFL, you don't apologize for winning.
Uh-uh.
If you get the dub, you take it and you move
Yep.
on. Um, they're going to have their hands full going up against these Texans, man, who looked pretty damn good last week, coming off of a great season last year. It's going to be rocking there in Houston for the Sunday Nighter.
It is absolutely going to be rocking. And CJ Stroud was pretty rocking in week one, 2 touchdowns for CJ. Um, Nico Collins was on the receiving end of 117 yards worth of receptions there, but it was Stephon Diggs who got himself into the end zone a couple of times. Nice job feeding Diggs for the touchdowns, keeping him happy, and Gruntled is going to be huge. But let's talk about the real story because it kind of buried the league here. Joe Mixon on this team. Oh man, is he ready to show people what he can do with this offense, man? 159 yards, 5.3
Oh,
yards a carry and a touchdown. Joe Mixon was having himself a game, man. And that's going to be a pretty exciting Sunday night football game to watch as the Bears come to town and Texans see what they can do.
yeah, I mean, the Texans handled a pretty good Colts team last week. They
Yep.
should handle these Bears on Sunday night, but it'll be interesting to see what happens as they get into the thick of their schedule. But that's an exciting, fun team with a ton of talent. All right, Dave, one more. We've got Monday Night Football. It is the Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles, little bird battle, and the Eagles are 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it was a pretty darn disappointing debut for Kirk Cousins as a Falcon. 2 picks for Cousins, 1 touchdown, just 155 yards passing overall. But I mean, the Steelers' defense is very good, and that's they made him look uncomfortable in that game. Bijan Robinson, only 3.8 yards a carry, 68 yards. Couldn't get that ground game going, even with Tyler Algier as well. Just couldn't scrap it together, couldn't put anything together consistently. And we we thought there'd be, I don't know, there's like weapons all over the place, and it was going to be activated by the addition of a competent quarterback and a very skilled quarterback in Kirk Cousins, but we just didn't see any of that happen in week one. We'll see if they can put it together on the road, though, in Philadelphia. Pretty tough ask at this point.
Yeah, dude, and I don't know if Cousins will get benched, but he might get knocked out of this game. So we might see Michael Penix a little sooner than later because he was taking a beating last week. I know that's the Steelers, but the
Yeah.
Eagles pretty active there on defense too. And speaking of active, dude, Zach Bond in that Friday night game was all over the damn place against those Packers. Just an incredible game by that guy. And then offensively, they had some issues. Jalen very sloppy with the ball, a couple turnovers, but they've added Saquon Barkley to this offense, so they're only
Hello.
gonna get better. And how much better can you get than 3 touchdowns on your opening, game with the new team? So the Eagles have a ton of talent. Think they were kind of lucky to get out of that game on Friday with the dub. I mean, they did enough to win it, but
Yeah,
the
they did.
Packers helped them. But this is a team that expects to compete. It's going to be rocking at the link there on Monday night. So I don't think the Falcons will compete in this game. We'll see. I don't like to throw dirt on teams ahead of time,
Yeah.
but
Let's hope that
I
Kirk
got my
kind of gets
shovel.
himself together. Cousins gets out there, puts together a nice performance, and we get ourselves a fun football game.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll take the upset, baby. You got that right, my friend.
Oh yeah.
You got that right, Dave. There are so many ways you can check out the football dudes. The Trend Zone, which you're listening to right now, is available. Dave, are we going to give this away for free? Let's
It's
do it.
absolutely free of charge, Casey.
Okay, free for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and Amazon Music.
Yeah, that is available for you. Why don't you subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're at it? Go ahead and like us on Instagram and Facebook and follow us on Twitter, also known as X at Football Dudes LA. Make sure you tag us across all social media platforms. Thank you.
And if you're out there surfing the interwebs, go ahead and bookmark footballdudes.com. That is going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone. We are not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. For Dave, I'm Casey. Enjoy week 2, people. We are out of here.